Greetings, mind crafters, and welcome to another exciting Mindcraft conversation on this gorgeous day. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am so super stoked to have this conversation about how to live like a millionaire. How to live like a millionaire. So here's how we're going to work it. I am myself a work in progress with this, and I'm going to tell you. I'm just going to tell you what I do to live like a millionaire. And right out of the gate, I would tell you that a millionaire lifestyle is not something we acquire. It's something we tune into. And I have to mention my inspiration for today because my inspiration is the one and only Wayne Dyer. I love him so much. He passed way too early. He left this earth. I think he was in his early 70s. And what a mark he's made on this earth. What a spiritual leader. Anyway, so the main thing here, we got to get this is we're talking about the mind. This is Mindcraft, right? And so again, right out of the gate, a millionaire lifestyle is something we tune into. So am I saying tune into your inner millionaire? I absolutely am 100%. And just like anything else, learning to live like a millionaire begins with the mind. And so, it's not just about acquiring wealth, like we were saying, it's about living in a way where your thoughts and when you're living in a way where your thoughts and actions are wealthy. If that's making sense to you. So, in order to do that, you must, as in master key must, understand the power of gratitude. And anyone who I know who's famous, I don't mean know necessarily personally, but who I listen to in podcasts and also people who I know who are famous actually know personally and the mastermind group that I am part of, which I'm going to definitely talk about through this podcast because they're very financially successful and they're really outstanding, just stellar human beings. Every single one of whom has a backstory, so I'm going to bring them into it. But really, and each and every one of them has a gratitude, practice. We talk about gratitude at our conferences when we meet up wherever we are. And so my own personal story with it. Okay, and at least the successful and famous don't necessarily have to overlap, right? Somebody can be totally successful, not necessarily be famous. So I know lots of successful people. Every single one of them has a gratitude practice, and every single one of them has a morning routine. 99% of the time, those overlap because the reason is it's good to be grateful all day long, and that certainly is my shtick. Gratitude journal wise, though, sometimes all students ask me in my Minecraft class, Professor, is it okay if I do it at night? Of course it is. If that's what your schedule is and that's what your body rhythm is and all that, go ahead. However, I would probably say to suggest maybe do it in the morning and the night because there's something about the morning. It's obviously, when your day starts. And so if you want to prime your day to unfold as well as possible, the gratitude belongs in the beginning. So they can be like bookends and do it on both ends for sure. But you really want to start out because people think, many people think that they just start their day and it's like a dice roll. It unfolds how it unfolds. That is not true at all. We have way more control than we think we do, and obviously, curveballs can happen. You can blow a tire, run a nylon, break a nail, stub a toe, get a bad phone call, get a bad email. Rah, 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 rah. However, when we start out practicing gratitude in the morning, no matter what's thrown at you, your day is going to turn out better than if you did not practice gratitude in the morning. So, I start out with three. I have a gratitude journal that I keep on my windowsill. We've talked about this because the 20-second rule applies. We want something to be easy, and that's research based. If it takes us longer than 20 seconds to go find it or go find a pen, it becomes that much easier to say, mañana, forget about it. And so there's that. So have it on a coffee table or right in your nightstand or something with a pen in it. And three things just I am grateful for. I am grateful for my golden retriever, my divine health, a hot cup of tea, whatever. It can't just be golden retriever, family tea, or whatever it is. And you have to have the words I am grateful for because we talked about this too. I'm just reiterating because this definitely rolls into the millionaire talk we're having today. I don't know. I can't think of one of my friends in the mastermind group who doesn't do this. And so there's something called the Tetris effect, which came from the video game Tetris with the after images of the colorful shapes and organizing them. And after, just 15 minutes of playing that game, the brain automatically tries to organize the shapes and make them all fit and all that stuff. So that with the gratitude thing, it's something that the Tetris effect happens after about, well, the habits form or shift. I should say shift. They don't Habits are not made or broken; they shift. You'll start to see after about 21 days. That's Charles Duhigg says that in his book, The Power of Habit. You start to see a change, whether you're doing something positive or negative. That's about how long it takes for a habit to shift and stick. So with the gratitude journal, you will start to see positive throughout your day more than you would have without the gratitude journal in about 3 weeks. And I ask my Minecraft students each and every semester, and each and every semester there's a handful of just their hands just shoot into the air because they can't wait to tell me about the brain changes that they're experiencing. So the Tetris effect is about, how we basically creating new neural pathways based on patterns. The brain loves patterns. So when we train the brain, the I am grateful for, I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for, new neural pathways, positive new neural pathways are created, and it's simultaneously the old negative Nelly pathways are dying out. So if you don't use it, you lose it, just like high school Spanish, right? So those two things put together will have you in a really good place after about 3 weeks. That's an average. So that means some people are more, some are less. Okay, so there's the gratitude thing. You've got to understand how powerful it is. It's not just touchy feely, fluffy. My doctorate's in cognitive psychology, and I love all things brainy, all things neurons. And let me tell you that neurons are just like, toddlers, wayward toddlers, and you give them the direction, they get used to it, they get conditioned, just a fancy word for learning. And then, just like anything else, it gets easier to maintain. It gets easier to maintain that gratitude, just like anything else you do, skiing, running, cooking, whatever, robbing banks. It all gets easier when we keep up with it. So the power of gratitude, we've got to practice gratitude, preferably in the morning if you're going to be successful. I mean, that's just how it is. And because here's what the other deal is: when we are truly appreciative, when we are truly for real, or as my Minecrafters say, for realsies grateful and appreciative for what we have, we will attract even more abundance into our lives. That's just the fact, Jack. That's how it works. The more grateful we are, the more abundance lands in our lap. And let me tell you, from one who has practiced gratitude for years and years and years and years and years, it turns into a faucet you can't shut off. Not that you'd want to shut it off because you don't, but it's just like it just flows. It's just kind of like, I don't know. I think of a clogged pipe or something. Who makes that analogy? Somebody does. I think it's Abraham Hicks. Once you clear out the pipe, just like a plumbing problem, it's all clogged. The water's not coming out. It might even smell a little bit because there's all kinds of junk clogged up in there. You call a plumber. They use that brush thing, just like a bottle brush, and they clear out the pipe. Then the water is moving smoothly and clear and beautiful coming out of that pipe. Well, we have to kind of clear out our own pipes and get rid of all the negative crapola to let the positivity flow through. And when that gratitude is flowing through that pipe, abundance just cannot be stopped. Not that you'd want to, but it just flows. Take my word for it, please. And Wayne also talks about the fact that true wealth is not found in your bank account, but in the richness of your heart. And that might sound cheesy to you, but that is the real deal. And here's where we bring in the cognitive psych stuff, because thoughts, we become what we think. We become what we think about all day long. So we change our thoughts, we change our lives, literally. So here's the thing: thoughts are the appetizers to beliefs. That's the hardcore, the beliefs. And the thoughts are a big, huge step. And thoughts, when they grow up, become beliefs. You believe everything long enough, it actually gets locked into your belief system, which then kind of turns into a schema, which is a filter where your incoming information flows through. So this is huge. So he also talks about, actually, before I go on to that, stay with the beliefs, because not only do you have to think you're abundant and believe you are wealthy on the inside. You got to believe. You got to actually feel it. Feel it so that nothing's a surprise. When abundance roll through, and this is Brooke Castillo. Oh God, I love her. I like to meet her too. If you took her at face value, I don't know what some people would make of her because they would think she was shallow hell, and it's absolutely the opposite. She talks about this very thing that Wayne Dyer talks about. You've got to believe you're already wealthy for wealth to actually happen. And then she talks about the different huge moments of abundance in her life when just gigantic money, worked out for her, different clients, different this, different that. And somebody said to her, "So what did it feel like?" And she said, when all that, and it was millions, when all that came in, she said, "Well, actually, it felt like Tuesday," because she had worked her mind. She'd practiced and meditated on all this stuff and worked on gone within and worked from the inside out. That by the time all that stuff manifested, she was just ready for it and used to it. Does not mean she took it for granted. Please don't misinterpret. And she will say that herself. Very, very, very grateful, just not surprised. And now, also in alignment with living the millionaire lifestyle, living as a millionaire, is to realize the importance of being a lifelong learner. So the things I'm sharing with you now are things I do. So I read voraciously, which is actually on my list here to talk about too. I'm curious. I'm curious all the time. I'm curious, and though I have a specific interest in pot of the brain and positive psychology and all things positive and this big umbrella, with knowing your value and just all of it, just all of it with positive psychology. I also like to take moments to just check out what's going on with the eclipse, check out what they've recently found out on Mars, what's going on in medicine, what's going on, some cool thing, maybe out of Actually, I haven't looked at National Geographic lately, but when I land on it, I love to flip through there. Something cool going on in some other culture that's just fascinating. Even different varieties of fish that they didn't know before. They're in the depths of the ocean, whatever. So, though I'm mostly focused on brainy things and all things positive, I do like to just also languages. I love learning new languages, and then I love using those languages when I go and travel. And so Wayne Dyer talks about it's never too late to get curious. And also Leonardo da Vinci. I'm a huge Leonardo fan. If you ever have the opportunity to visit his museum in Rome, it's amazing. And I had the good fortune of that because obviously it's expensive to travel. And this was ages ago. I mean, oh gosh, I don't even know when I was there with our daughter when she was 11, who's now almost 27. So do the math on that. And it was a short and sweet trip, but we got to Leonardo's museum, and wow, just the curiosity. People think about him for this and that and that and this. He studied the body, he studied everything, just he saw everything, and he's got all kinds of unfinished projects all over the place in his museum because he was curious about all of it. And he'd kind of figure out, okay, satisfied the curiosity, then he was on to the next thing. Of course, it's also guessed that he was a Fast Mind Club member, not a big surprise. So it's never too late to get curious. It's never too late to change direction in your life. Some people think, especially with jobs, I think, like, back in the 50s, I don't think anybody does this much anymore. And my millennial and Gen Z kids, we constantly talk about, they stay in a job for 3, 4, 5 years and move on back because that's what they do now. And that's considered like a healthy work life, staying current, moving around. We're back in the 50s, somebody worked, their entire life in one place, get to go watching a cake, and then they sent you packing, it was it. But to really, now we know, or we've gotten more used to changing direction. You can be 80 and change direction. I love Louise Hay's story. If you've ever listened to her on a podcast, she is lovely. And I think she started doing stuff like the big stuff she's doing with writing her books, and then she started a publishing house, and all about all about proactive mind health and emotional freedom. Also friends with Wayne Dyer. He's had her on his shows before, and in fact, in one of them, he announced that she was in the audience, and she had just turned 80. And I'm quite certain she didn't even get going until about 60. And I'm a fabulous 59, so I'm 59. So I'm thinking, wow, never too late. Another one, Grandma Moses. her paintings sold for millions of dollars, and she got started in her early 70s. It's never too late to learn something new and to just chase your passion like that. So we're talking about the lifelong learner thing, to starting something new, start a business. Oh, actually, in my mastermind group, this isn't my main group. It's kind of like my home base. I went to another conference. There's some overlap there. It was a business booster group or something. I don't know what it was. It wasn't my regular crew, but I met another crew who were also lovely. And there was a woman there who was, I want to say she was 79, and she just wrote a children's book, and she's all about getting her business going. And there's another woman in there who's maybe not 79, but she's probably 70, I would say. And she's also all over getting her business going. And she's actually the other one's part of my main group as well. And I mean, this 79, 80-year-old, I thought, whoa, I mean, good for you. And she's all into it, just like, there are people there in their 40s, and it wasn't different. I think, man, you got it going on. And then, okay, when I was talking about also, starting something new, staying with what's current going on with NASA or whatever your choice is, you know, um, about that. Also, reading autobiography, whatever you're interested in, but to steer away from what your main interest is. That's important. I was thinking of just now of my Grammy. I love my grandmother so much. I don't think I found this out till later, actually, but she was fascinated with pioneer women and how they handled all of that in the Wild West. The Wild West on its own was a lot to take on. Never mind being female, childbirth, how women were viewed, all their daily tasks, no electricity, blah 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 blah. And she used to read all kinds of historical things and also novels, and it's just super important because again, the neurons respond to activity and also repetition. And so it's also good. I have another friend of mine who does research on what is called cognitive reserves. So, like, I'm into languages, and, reading and doing whatever, taking on something that actually makes you stretch, you're going to be much less apt to have an ounce of cognitive decline when you become more seasoned. Now, obviously, there's genes, and something that's early onset is tough to avoid, but we have way more control over cognitive decline than we think we do. And keeping your mind, like going to a mental gym every day and reading, and starting new things that challenge you, is the way to stay healthy and with it for a really long time. Also part of the millionaire lifestyle. Okay, so these are things that I do, frequently, as one living the millionaire lifestyle. And part of this also, Wayne also talks about, is attending seminars. And I don't think this has ever been easier with technology. Wayne was at this for a long time. So for a lot of his talks were kind of pre-computers, or when they were during computers, they weren't in full swing like they are now. And now with webinars, it's almost overwhelming how many choices there are out there. And it's so easy to listen to speakers. I prefer in person, but I do listen to podcasts on my way into campus to Champlain every single day. Sometimes the way home, sometimes I call people on the way home, actually, but on the way in, I listen, and I mean with Bluetooth. I'm not one of those. I do not touch my cell phone when I'm driving. Just want to make sure I said that. So it's all hands free. But on the way home, sometimes I'm talking to my kids or whatever. But on the way in, I listen to very positive, uplifting people and talks, and it's so important. And of course, this is also easy for me being in academia, because we have speakers come all the time, and it's just right there. It takes basically zero effort but to walk across campus. And back when I was at St. Mike's as an undergrad, one of my favorite things about college, other than obviously the parties and luau's and skiing, were were the speakers who came. We had some really good speakers on all kinds of things from all different countries. And we go off with a group of us, and just because colleges in general, at least the ones I've been to, ones I've been a student at, the one where I'm teaching now, often pay big bucks for good speakers. They don't usually have boring people. I mean, they're people who have done magnificent humanitarian efforts and been leaders all over the world, and they're absolutely fascinating. So it gives your whole, it has it take for me, when I listen to a really, exhilarating speaker, my whole mindset changes for the rest of the day. I'm just mulling over what they talked about, and thinking about, especially when they've all, and many times they're from different countries, and thinking, in fact, one of the gentlemen who was with me on my first TED talk talked about how he got over here from Somalia, and all the things with all the things. And I thought, wow, and he was young, and his efforts to keep in touch with his family, and then how he all the challenges he had with getting over here, and wow. I mean, absolutely amazing. Listen to somebody speak who actually lived whatever it is they're talking about. There is no better education than that. And I would say equally might be traveling, but we're going to get to that in a sec. And yeah, so traveling is another thing I'm fortunate to do, because I'm a fabulous 59 right now. And certainly when we raised the 5 kids, we did lots of family vacations and things like that. And it's, just now in my seasoned, years, am I able to zip over to Europe and do things like that. And it's never fancy for me. In fact, I just had the good fortune of being able to go with a friend. She invited me to Sicily to stay with her dad at his, we call it the castle. It's gorgeous. It's not like a big castle, but it's a beautiful stone home. And we just kind of had a fantastic time, and was a very um it was, very nice to actually go stay with a family. So obviously cost effective too. Their hospitality was amazing. We had dinner on the terrace, and it was just gorgeous. And I got to meet all their friends. It was just a lovely time. And learning the real culture. When you actually stay with people, it's a whole different perspective than, staying in hotels. But I tend to go very cheaply, actually. I just kind of want to get there. I really kind of want to just get to wherever I'm going, and take in the culture. And I'm a big foodie, so I love to eat good food. But I don't stay in the Taj Mahal, to be truthful. And when you come right down to it, it's really all about growing, personal growth. And Wayne Dyer says it. My good friend Oprah says it, and even though she's not aware, and Tony Robbins says it a lot. That when personal growth stops, so Wayne says this a lot too. When personal growth stops, so does happiness. We are meant, and actually, so does Abraham Hicks. We're all about going forward. We're eternal. It keeps going. There's no end point. So happiness. Um, Happiness, and it sounds so super cliche, is a journey, but it really is. And when the personal growth stops, which includes obviously all the things we go through in life, but also the reading, the traveling, the listening to speakers, all of it. And then we grow and grow and grow, like somebody dropped Miracle Grow in our heads. And this is when we are super, super, super happy. We're taking in new information, and we're expanding our minds. And when we expand how we think, we expand how we feel, and it just, our whole world opens up, literally. And of course, this is a biggie. I was listening to Wayne earlier today. He talks about, living the millionaire lifestyle, which I do every day to the best of my ability. Okay, how do we say it? Becoming rich also has to do with relationships, not just revenue. And this goes along with what Marty Seligman, father of positive psychology, and most people, I can't think of anybody I know in positive psychology who would not say the exact same thing. It's a relationship. So Marty Seligman's was part of his PERMA, right? Positive regard, engagement, relationship is the R, meaning, and then accomplishment. That's what's in the bucket of well-being when you have each of those little mini buckets filled. Also, there's the famous Harvard study, which is a longitudinal study, which means still going on. They pass the torch. Researchers leave. Researchers die. They keeps passing, going, going, going. And what came out of that study, or still coming out of that study, is that relationships are the number one for longevity, meaning positive relationships, obviously, not toxic ones. Those do the opposite. But that one person you can count on, if you've got 2 or 3 of them, you are beyond rich. And it talks about investing, because millionaires are obviously investing all the time. And we think money, and we are investing money. But here's the thing. We invest in our relationships first, pouring love, kindness, listening, stopping to just listen. And a lot, and not that it's not, fun to write a check to give to something. Of course it is, though. Really, it's much more. I don't want to judge it like comparing. Let's just say it sometimes can take more to actually invest time. It can be easier to write a check. I don't mean that everybody has the money. That's not what I'm saying. Versus like a scribble on a paper versus spending a whole day with somebody that you really maybe didn't want to do, but you know that they're hurting and they're important to you. Like you had something planned, maybe you were going to do this and that, and you drop it because that person is so important to you, and and they just need you to be there for them, and that's important. It's obviously really important, um, to act. And I think I'm just such a big fan of the active listening piece because sometimes that doesn't need, like I just made the half day example. It can be a half a minute example, maybe not half a minute, but 3 or 4 minutes. And it happens to me a lot when I'm at Champlain, actually, because my office is in a high traffic zone, which I love. I wouldn't change anything about it. I love my office with the exposed bricks and the positive. It's a great office. It's small, but it's just the best. I have positive things all over the walls, and so my faculty friends, and my staff friends, students all the time come by and talk to me. And with the grown ups in the mix, the students usually have different things they want to talk about. Also, they need to be listened to. I don't mean that, but faculty and staff sometimes come by to talk about, just 3, 4, 5, 10 minutes, just stuff that's going on, and it's just we have these conversations, and it's not long. It's so important to just kind of stop what we're doing sometimes to just listen. Just listen. Somebody had an exciting thing happen with their grandchild. Somebody had an exciting award. Somebody's starting a side hustle. Somebody's upset about the politics and just need to be validated. Positive, negative, and neutral, whatever. But it's just there is no greater expression, I don't think, of kindness really than stopping just to listen. Often you don't even have to do anything. It's just helping somebody, or being the vehicle for somebody to be able to feel seen and heard. This is one of the greatest gifts we can do as humans and give somebody as another human being, is to have them go on with their day feeling like they're on the grid. Somebody got me. Somebody understood. Didn't have to do anything. They just understood where I'm coming from, why I was hurting, or whatever. And millionaires are really, really good at investing in relationships. The energy, the loving energy, the kind energy, and the active listening. And here's another one that's 100% true for me. Living the millionaire lifestyle, it means that we are driven by high octane passion, and that we're in this sort of hot pursuit. We crave it. I can't even explain it. And my fast mind wiring certainly plays into this. But millionaires are driven on high octane passion. We are in the hot pursuit of a fulfilling life. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like electric almost, just sucking the marrow out of life. And we live a life, we're after this fulfilling life that's just loaded with meaning and purpose. It's hard, yeah, just I don't know, just sucking the marrow out of it, and just listening to that inner voice, and staying in alignment with our passion and our purpose. Another something that Wayne talks about, and I also do, as part of the millionaire lifestyle, is there's a huge component of generosity, and this is key to living a wealthy life. Absolutely key to living a wealthy millionaire lifestyle. This means not only to share your wealth, but also your knowledge and your time. We just talked about that one, and we're not talking about joining the Peace Corps. I mean, that's great, but oftentimes I think sometimes people, you know, maybe hold back from doing small acts of generosity, and kindness, because they think it's not good enough or not big enough or something. And it can be so small. I mean, some of these small things I do, I keep pretty well stocked on candy in my office. And sometimes I'll just go and drop a Twix on somebody's desk. That might sound totally like, who cares? But depending on the day you've had, it can be huge. And it also can just be a Twix bar. It can be like, thanks for the sugar fix. It's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which for many of us is a caffeine time and maybe a little sweet. So it might not even be deep. It might just be like, wow, thanks. Or it might be, somebody had a not so good day, and it's just somebody who's thinking of you, and that right there, is worth it. It's worth dropping the Twix on leaving it on top of the keyboard of a computer of a colleague, right? Totally. And the important thing here too with living the millionaire lifestyle is to realize that generosity, when we do these little acts of kindness, is generous giving of the self. This generosity further enriches our own lives because whatever we do for others, we also do for ourselves, right? And I'm huge into that. In fact, my license plates are pay it forward, and again, it doesn't have to be big. It just really doesn't. So here's the thing: is that giving fills us up. Giving fills us way up, and it's our number one job is to keep ourselves filled up. It's the best thing we can possibly do for ourselves and the world is to keep ourselves filled up. Why? Because we can't give what we don't have. Can't give love if we don't love ourselves. We can't be kind if we don't know what it's like to have kindness given to us and harbor that and hold it and know what it feels like. We cannot give what we do not have, and that's it. So giving fills us up far more than anything we receive. I think, and of course, there's also a little dopamine fix there, which could be God's way or the universe's way, sources, higher power, however you want to say, of maybe keeping us doing good things for other people because even something as small as helping somebody, who's like, 9.5 months pregnant, carry her packages, her, grocery bags to the car, just the right timing, or an older person, or whatever your good timing is, that dopamine fix, it's just like a win-win situation. It's just a win-win situation. And then, of course, millionaires are very aware of the mind-body connection, very, very aware of the mind-body connection. And Ben Franklin, right, said the first wealth is health. So we're aware of our divine health. We eat well. Nobody's saying perfection. We eat well, and I'll tell you, the mastermind group that I'm a part of, just these lovely people. They're super outdoorsy, and I'm going to say that they're also super normal. They like Chick-fil-A, actually. So eating healthy most of the time. But if we have one of our conventions at Disney World or wherever we are, actually, we had one out in Utah during the summer last summer, and we hiked up these crazy mountains of breathtaking view. I think it was Park City, actually. Breathtaking views, and my gosh, we take in the simple pleasures. Some of my mastermind friends were basically hanging upside down, taking pictures of wildflowers and funky looking trees and all that sort of thing. And we do eat well, and we hydrate, and we do all these things. And also, when we're away, we also play a little. We have a big fat steak and onion rings. The masterminds, I'm so happy that they're burger and onion ring fans because so am I. It doesn't mean don't treat yourself when you're away with friends. Just be healthy most of the time. In fact, I just did. You have a pot. You can look forward to one of my mastermind friends. Her name is Julie May, the amazing Julie May, and you'll be hearing her in about a week or two. I just have to finish editing, talking about that very thing, about treating yourself and about the self-love behind all of that. Okay, so we had eat well, make sure you're moving. My successful mastermind friends and myself, we move every single day. And I think most of you who watch the YouTubes and things, I'm out there with Giovanni every single day, unless it's a monsoon, and moving in the woods. And when I had my whole foot surgery thing, I couldn't do much or go far, but I was still doing what I could. I didn't lose the momentum of it. Because I was prevented there for a little bit. You just have to work on the core, do your upper body, which truth I wasn't that great at. I just did the best I could. And then I started as I was able as I was given more mobility by the doc, I grabbed it and did as much as I could. But the point is, I am moving all the time, and when I go on my mastermind trips with the crew, there is hiking involved. There's and also we have fun. That's another big part of the millionaire lifestyle is fun. So a lot of it's genuine outdoorsy fun. Lots of photograph taking of nature. Definitely, they're all into. I would say most of them are. And we also did this wild. They're not go karts. What are those things called? Mountain coasters. That was actually the same trip as that big hike. We all did this nutty mountain coaster that was. I felt like I was going 1,000 miles an hour. It's probably more like 35, but we have a heck of a lot of fun. and we laugh a lot. And there's a little bit of wine drinking, but not much, honestly. It's, most of them will have like a glass of wine or one beer with dinner, and some don't drink at all. It's not that kind of thing. It's very kind of wholesome fun, I guess. So then there's the travel, which also rolls into this, right? The best education there is, or before I said one of the best ways is speakers, and that's all true. So let's just have them tied. Travel is a fantastic way to become educated, exploring the world and our own country and the world at large. And it just it's just to actually see how, just how other cultures and how other ways of eating and doing things, and just the new scenery and all the history. And it's just, I was actually surprised how much I liked Greece, to be honest. Our youngest daughter wanted to go, and she was young. This is ages ago. I think she was about 12. And I took her for some mama youngest time, and we went just for the weekend, actually. Again, I don't spend a lot of money when I go away. We find the deals. We stayed in, I don't know if it was actually technically a hostel, but it was incredibly inexpensive per night. It was hardly anything. And we just focused on the food, and we went on a little day thing on this boat, and that was it. And looked at all the history, which was all free, and came back. And gosh, the history just had me mesmerized, because you know all that when you read it in books, but until you actually see when you actually see the things you read about for realsies, as my Minecrafters say, it really opens the mind up amazingly. And that's, another thing is, right, keeping the mind open to everything and attached to nothing. Keeping the mind open to everything and attached to nothing is also the way to go. And then another thing that's part of my own millionaire lifestyle, that's part of every successful person I know. I don't use the word every very often. Hands down, every. Oprah talks about it a lot. Wayne Dyer talks about it a lot. Abraham, all these people I talk about in my mastermind crew, they all are very, very, they've got an inner life, a very strong inner life. Some of them, they might be Christian. Others are, I don't know, I don't ask, but they have a strong inner life. They're very, very, very spiritual, and they're aware of a higher power bigger than all of us, and some strong faith going on. And this is really key, spiritually speaking, regardless of whether you take part or practice or subscribe to, as the young ones say, whatever religion. I'm not talking about that necessarily. You can make it that, and that's fine. But every single person that I know in the mastermind group has got a pretty solid um, inner life with a higher power connection. And so we need to, living a millionaire lifestyle means that you also get it that we're not humans, we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, but rather spiritual beings having a human experience. And this kind of leads me to the next thing with, and Wayne brought this up too, that, if somebody sets out like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, and they're just solely looking for wealth and stuff, like in material possessions and cash, they're going to come up empty every time. Empty, 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 empty. Having all that doesn't make you wealthy, but it doesn't even attract the material stuff that you're set out to get. It just, that's having that idea. And it's interesting because in our groups, when we meet every other Wednesday in my mastermind group, we talk about everybody's businesses, and we all zoom in and help. We all help each other. That's how it all works. And we have a great rhythm with it. It's very harmonious. And the Jake who runs the group is constantly saying, focus on making the difference. And in fact, there's what is the code? It goes, they're in order: impact, revenue, freedom. So first is the impact we're making on the world, other people. So no matter what that is, what is the impact? Focus on making a difference somehow, some way, and feeling good about it, and the rest will fall into place. So when we just look, for the shallow house stuff, we're not saying that the money, obviously, the masterminds that I hang out with are very, very financially successful. What I'm saying is the focus is on making the difference. The focus is on other orientation, and the money is kind of like the side effect, and then managing the increasing that revenue. And obviously, we're constantly working on increasing revenue. Of course we are, although it's a sidecar to whatever the vehicle is. That's what I'm trying to say. Um, So we have to look at, we have to really look at our spiritual wealth first by realizing and embracing our divine connection. And Wayne Dyer also talks about living like a millionaire has to do with how we handle life's curveballs, and that, gosh, and I can't tell you that these wonderful people I've met, I've yet to meet somebody who just had anything handed to them. Not in my group. Maybe those exist in other masterminds, but not in mine. I have the most awesome, authentic, they're just the most, I feel so at home with them. I can't even tell you. They're so authentic, very, very real. They're great listeners, and every single one of them has a backstory. I've yet to meet somebody who just inherited, mom's or dad's, fortune or something like that. They've got big backstories, and every single one of them that I've met thus far, really gotten to know well, which is almost all of them at this point. They're self-made and they've overcome tremendous adversity. And so when we live the millionaire lifestyle, we got to know how to handle life's curveballs because, as Wayne says, circumstances, and lots of people have said this, circumstances don't reveal who we are. I mean, it's not the circumstances, it's how we handle the circumstances. So I'm trying to say, they reveal how we are. So, and, when living like a millionaire myself, I'm in a positive mindset the high majority of the time. It doesn't mean when something, you meet up with contrast, which Wayne Dyer often calls it contrast. Maybe that's Abraham Hicks. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We have some adversity come our way, life's curveballs. It doesn't mean to just ignore it and don't feel. No, to feel is to heal. We got to process. It can be something small to large. It can be somebody pissed you off at work, and legit so. Maybe there was, an ego-driven snark, and you have to kind of process and yield and, deal with it. Or something bigger, and you have to deal with it all the way to a death in the family, and you have to deal with it. So we process. However, the living the millionaire lifestyle, living as a millionaire, we will shift out of whatever it is. We make a conscious choice to shift out after we feel and heal as much as we can. We shift out, with a growth mindset, looking at post traumatic growth. It might just be post snark growth. It might not be as deep, right? But to kind of take what we can from it, to grow from it, yield from it, and then into this place of positivity, with grace and maybe some mercies involved. I don't know. So grace, positivity, and then resilience, that bounce back, living the life of a millionaire, there's a tremendous amount of bounce back involved. And bounce back gets you really, really far. When we take things personally, like the three P's for the pessimist, right? Pervasive, personal, and permanent. The millionaires are the opposite of that. We are optimists. So we don't take things personally to the best of our ability. We don't think it's going to be all the time pervasive, and we don't think it's permanent. Really the only way to not, when we talk about all of our businesses and da 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 da, really the only way to really fail is to quit. If you keep going, eventually it's going to be okay. Eventually you have to redirect, reinvent, get some more moves, get some more connections, read up, go to a seminar, something. But eventually you're going to be okay. We all believe that. You just one foot in front of the other. And every single person I've met in my group is a one foot in front of the other person. And we don't let setbacks destroy us. Is that old, I think it's an old Chinese proverb, fall down 7 times, get up 8, something like that. This is how we live our lives and living the millionaire lifestyle. Millionaires, put differently, we have our black belts in turning wounds into wisdom. And, again, handling life's curveballs with grace, positivity, and resilience is just kind of the hallmark, actually, of the millionaire lifestyle. So the hallmark of, and the hallmark of real affluence, real for real affluence. And this growth mindset, this positivity mindset, this abundance mindset, this resilience, we attract more and more and more and more positivity and abundance into our lives. And so I'm only getting started with this conversation. I realized that when I was sort of mapping it out earlier. So there's going to be at least a part two, maybe even a part three to this. But this is the beginnings of, of how to live like a millionaire. That's it. Have a mindful, grateful, prosperous day.